What we got here is probably the greatest disease cast iron ever caught in its life. It's just going to take you a little time. You can't give up. It didn't get rusty in one day. You might not fix it in one day. Have you got a cordless drill? They sell a little wire brush that'll hook right on that drill. Bring it back, run it in here, sides, bottom, top, everywhere. That's always my first step. Get a wire brush that maybe looks something like this. But it's better if you can get a small one, because you got to get in here to be able to work. This one is nearly too big. So if you can find you one of them little old wire brushes, and I've seen them at Walmart, I've seen them everywhere. Just go to scrubbing this deal with a wire brush, because you're going to need to get some kind of abrasive activity to get that rust out. So what's going to be the next step? Rinse it out, hot water, set it on your burner, set it on a heat source, set it on a campfire, something, but we got to dry that water out before we can start. Get it over here where you can work on it, and let's get some sea salt, coarse sea salt. Just slip it in there. Now you can do this one or two ways. You can take you a half a potato now and sit on there and go to rubbing, or you can just use you any piece of old leather. That once white salt, it's rusty red now. We eating at some of that rust. We're going to dump this out, folks. We have got the good out of that batch. We got to rinse it out, which ain't going to take much water. Then we're going to have to dry it out over here on Old Bertha. And at this point, hey, you want to get you one of these here scratcher sponges? We just need to make sure that we take loose all that's there, and then we're going to start this process over again. So let's take it over to Old Bertha. Let's let her dry that water moisture out of there, and we're going to start over this time. But with that salt, we're going to add just a tad bit of oil, so we've got a little lubricant in there with that salt. Well, folks, oh, it's sort of warm. Bertha got this dried out a little, so they still rust in there. I ain't going to eat out of this thing yet. Bertha got it warm and dried out. We're going to add just a tad of vegetable oil, any cheap oil you got, not Pennzoil. Can't do this cold, can't do it smoking hot, but it's got to be warm. So we're going to add just a tad bit of oil. Don't take much. We're going to add us some more of this coarse sea salt in there. And I would say cover the bottom really well. And let's get to scratching. That lubricant is going to help that salt get down in there a little deeper. You want to make sure you get up on the sides too and everywhere. Let's get rid of that salt that we can. Don't do this in the kitchen floor. Your wife will be mad, I promise. Go back with a little water. I like to use warm water, not hot, but warm. It's going to help get that oil out of there, plus that salt. This cleaned up pretty good. You were impressed, right? I was, you know. This was minimal rust damage. Now, a lot of times you find one of these and you get it to where you can sort of clean it up a little, and then you begin to notice, can you see them little spots that's flaked off there? But there's some rust under here that was hidden, I promise you. This thing was not cleaned properly, didn't get the rust out of it to begin with when somebody went to re-seasoning it the first time. Seasoning is flaking off the original stuff here. Let's change tactics here. Baking soda. It's just warm in there. White vinegar. We got this vinegar and this soda in here. It was fizzing a while ago. I think it's about run out of fizz now. No, there's still a little more in there. As long as it's doing that, I know it's still working little. So we're going to let this set about 10 minutes. I'll take me a little old soft bristle brush or maybe a piece of sponge, and I'll just get in there and go to scrubbing. When I rinsed it all out with good warm water, that's when I noticed this thing was in worse shape than I thought it was. There's still some really deep pockets of rust. Warm it up gradual, just let it get good and warm. Then I'm just going to pour straight vinegar in it. So folks, you've seen me do some steps, but those were for some minimal rust care to maybe medium, mediocre kind of stuff. You've got this old piece, it's really bad. I mean, it is covered with rust and you don't think it can be saved. Now there is two methods you can go about this if you get to one of them to where it's this bad to begin with. Number one, self-cleaning oven. Now, nearly all new ovens have this. Some of the older styles don't. Put it on a cookie sheet, slip it in there in that oven, try to stay on a middle rack if you can. Lock that door, let it run its course. It is burning everything out of there. You're going to get rid of any old seasoning, any contaminants that might be in there. That thing has come out purified, solid, raw piece of iron. Now there's another method, because a lot of times I ain't got a self-cleaning oven out there where I'm at on the ranch or something, and I don't recommend this for everyone, I promise you, especially if you've got an old piece of iron or it's thin or something like that. But I just open that door on Bertha, chunk it in there, shut the door and say, "Full cycle, Bertha." Let her run about 30 minutes, drag it out of there. If it is a good piece of iron that's got some thickness and some quality to it, it will live through that. But like just coming out of that self-cleaning oven, that thing is pure, raw, bare cast. Now, I'm going to let that thing cool off a minute, take a wire brush to it, get it brushed out best we can, and see where we're at. Got it wire brushed, got it cleaned up. There might be a pocket of rust that's still deep living down in there, or something that didn't just surface plumb out. What are we going to do? I'm going to go back with a little sea salt, coarse, a little bit of oil, give it a good scrubbing, rinse it out, dry it out, heat it up, see where we're at. And if you go through this process and you've still got it, use some vinegar and some baking soda. Let it sit in there, give it a little scrubbing. That'll get the job done. I hadn't burned out that skillet, and that rust was so bad in there and so deep, I went back to the baking soda and vinegar deal again and again to try to get this to where we're at now. So let's have a look. All right, as you can see, folks, you can actually see the silver back in this cast. We got back down to nearly the pure state of this cast iron. It's a little rough in there. Before we start the re-seasoning process, I'm gonna go in there with some 80 grit sandpaper, and it ain't gonna take much. You can do it by hand if you got a little orbital sand or anything. Just smooth this bottom up just a little, just to make sure it's good and smooth. Hope you learned something today. I did. Every time I pick up a piece of cast iron, I learn something. Depending on your rust, you ought not have no more than 2 days in it to get it back to looking like it's supposed to. It's a lot like children and little dogs. You have to be patient with it. It's gonna bring you back that love that you're gonna need to cook out of for a lifetime.